Hello everyone! Welcome to another DSP video. We're going to be talking about his Street Fighter V rant, because guess what? He hates the game. I love the title, Rant! Street Fighter V is a bad game, and the Pro FGC are dishonest. But, on Twitter he said, oh, don't shame people for not liking the game. I agree with that, okay? I'm not going to shame anyone for not liking the game. But I just knew he's going to shame people for liking the game. That's why he's calling these people dishonest. It's completely ridiculous to say that you can't shame people for not liking something, but then shame people for liking something and claiming that they're dishonest about it. But whatever, let's read this nice big disclaimer, and we'll get into the video. Disclaimer! This video is real talk, full of rage, but also truth, okay? I have played Street Fighter competitively since the day it was released in the US arcades, and have a track record of undeniable skill in competitive fighting games. Despite what some detractors in the mainstream FGC might try to say, after 7 months of experiencing the farce that is Street Fighter V, I finally have to speak up and call out the insane bullshit that the competitive community has been saying to defend this inferior game. I fully expect backlash, but considering I have no plans to ever return to competitive fighting games, I don't care. Okay? I like how he says that Street Fighter V is a farce. What was the farce? Capcom promised a fighting game to give you a fighting game. Just because it wasn't a good game, subjectively, doesn't mean that they gave you a dishonest product. People who are saying that they like the game and are making articles about why they like the game doesn't really mean anything. It's just them talking about why they like the game. I didn't read the FGC articles that I've seen. One of them I read was, one of the headlines was like, stop complaining about input lag. And he's kind of right, because the thing is that, like, we've heard about this input lag since, the game came out. It's, like, time to get over it. I mean, that's not to say that, you can't criticize the input lag, or that, oh, no, I'm not saying that. It's just, if you don't like it, then play another game. I still play Street Fighter V. I don't care about the flaws. I wish there was an arcade mode. I mean, it's just, Street Fighter V isn't the perfect game. And, honestly, at this point in video games, every game that I've played, isn't as good as it was back in the 90s or early 2000s or whatever. So I stopped kind of expecting perfect games. And the games I've been getting have been satisfying me because I go in with low expectations. Phil hyped Street Fighter V so much that of course he was going to be severely disappointed with a game that was probably never going to fulfill his biggest expectations, but whatever. I mean, this is kind of the lesson that I've learned with multiple games. Like, I went into Metal Gear Solid 4 expecting an amazing game, and I got really disappointed by the end of it. And it's like, can I really go into every game with big expectations? Like, if I went to Metal Gear Solid 5 with huge expectations, I'd probably be really disappointed about that game. And I'm not saying that if you're disappointed, then you just had big expectations. I understand why people don't like these games, but it's just, come on. But let's listen to this. And I like how he also has to say that he has undeniable skill, while people have been denying his skill. But whatever.
What is going on, everyone? Darkside Phil here with a special vlog, and I'm going to be honest with you, this one is going to be more like a rant than anything else. And I just want to call upon something that usually I don't reference and I don't call upon, at least not for the past several years, alright? Many of you may not know this, but I used to be a competitor and an actual contender when it came to competitive fighting games. A lot of people say, oh, don't call it pro fighting game player, because unless you made a complete living doing it, you weren't a professional. When I was playing competitive fighting games, no one was doing it as a job. It wasn't possible. There was no sponsorship. There was nothing like that whatsoever. But I competed at a top level in several different games. In the late 90s and early 2000s, I always tried my hand at games like Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and I did dabble with other games like Capcom vs. SNK 2 and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. there was a kind of a dead period where there were no new Capcom games for quite a while, but when there was a resurgence in the mid-2000s of the re-releases and HD remasters of games such as Super Turbo, I was playing that at a very high competitive level. And then, of course, when Street Fighter 4 came out, I covered it in depth for YouTube. This was at the very beginning of my era of videos for YouTube. And I tried to play it at a competitive level for about a year or two. After a while, I decided I would rather more focus on doing a YouTube career rather than just being a competitive fighting game player, because I knew it would take far too much time and effort and investment for me to be at a high competitive level. Rather than doing that, I'd rather just have fun playing a variety of games for YouTube. And considering here I am, 8 years later, still making videos for YouTube and making a living doing it, I think I made the right decision. The reason I'm making this video...
kind of feels like he's trying to justify his switch to, like, covering YouTube and all that. I don't know, but whatever, let's continue.
Today is because we are now 7 months, that's 7 months after the launch of Street Fighter V. It launched back in mid-February of 2016. And boy, has it been one of the most controversial subjects when it comes to fighting game players.
Controversial? How is Street Fighter V controversial? It's just, these people don't like it. These people like it. That has been around since every game. There are people who didn't like Street Fighter 4 because it was too simple. People are like, oh, Street Fighter 4 it was made for casuals, and this is why it sucks. Oh, I miss the sprites and all this kind of stuff. And now it's like, it's only controversial for Phil because he doesn't like it anymore. And, you know, that does suck when you are into a franchise and then you don't like the latest installment of that franchise. Like, it does suck. You know, the series that I got disappointed with the most right now would probably be Resident Evil. Resident Evil 6 was like, you know, wow, this feels lame. And then Revelations 2 felt lame. But you know, it's like, it is what it is. I mean, you gotta keep going with it, but whatever.
Just the mainstream fighting game community. But it's funny, because it seems to me like if you listen to the mainstream game community versus the hardcore FGC, or fighting game community, they seem to be saying completely different things when it comes to Street Fighter V. Now, the thing is, I am much more in line.
They have always had different opinions. The mainstream didn't like that's just how it's always been. People have different opinions. That's how opinions work. That's why some people like Phil's videos and why some people don't. It's not. This is what I don't even get. Like, to kind of go on to go out of this video and go with his fan base. This is what I don't get about DSP fans and DSP fans at all. If you like Phil, good for you. Why do you feel the need to go to detractors, go to like my videos, go to my Twitter, wherever, and say that, oh, Theo, you have a mental illness because you don't like DSP and you make videos about it. Oh, Theo, you keep talking about Phil, but you don't like him. It's like, I never said I didn't like him. I really have no opinion on this guy other than what he says in videos. I don't know him personally. I don't know who he is off camera. I don't know that. I really haven't had a stance on if I like him or not. It's just, he's a guy, he's on YouTube, and he makes videos. I'm just giving my opinion. I don't get why people always have to be like on the fence, like, he doesn't like it, we need to talk about that. Oh, he likes it. I don't know. It's just, it's like, people don't like things, and then some people like want to voice this stuff. Think of my channel, kind of why he made this fucking video. Just I don't know. It's just, so somewhere there it's jumbled, but I did a whole video explaining my relationship with DSP. You can look at that video and you'll be like, oh, hopefully.
Fine. With the mainstream community than I am at all with the competitive fighting game community anymore, because I'm not a part of that competitive atmosphere anymore. I don't attend tournaments. I don't play at a high level. I don't watch gameplay streams, and hell, I haven't even been playing Street Fighter V against a person at anywhere in person ever. I've only played the game online, okay?
Yeah, you never played,
so
he doesn't
everything
have any
that I'm telling you of Street Fighter V. All of the things and opinions that are reflected in this video are based upon my wealth of experience playing Street Fighter 2 the day it launched in United States arcades, way back when in the early 1990s, playing every iteration of Street Fighter 2, 3, Alpha, the CVS series, the Versus series, all of those games up to now. I've played them all, at least at a semi-competitive level, and I can give you my honest opinion about Street Fighter V. The mainstream gamers seem to say this game sucks because when it launched, it didn't have a lot of content, and it has a limited roster, and the online play is iffy for some people, still to this day. And, you know, they release all these DLC characters, but the DLC characters don't seem that great. So to the mainstream gamers, Street Fighter V is a flop. It did not appeal. If you actually look at sales numbers, all right, the game did not do anywhere nearly as well as any of the numbered entries in the Street Fighter series previously. In particular, the one you have to compare it with is Street Fighter 4, because that one was the last major one, and it was in this same kind of modern era, versus Street Fighter 3 was way back in the late 90s.
But the thing is that the reason why people didn't buy Street Fighter 5, I guarantee this is why. I guarantee, but I can't speak for everyone, so I can't say this is fact, but when Street Fighter 4 was released, everyone bought it because it was like, oh, PS3 Street Fighter game, well, whoop-de-doo. And then they released Super Street Fighter 4 as a standalone game, not DLC. People felt burned by that. People didn't like that. I mean, most of those people kind of adopted Super Street Fighter 4 anyway, and then, they did Arcade Edition, Ultra Edition, but those were also DLC, so, it is what it is for that. But I guarantee you, when Street Fighter V was released, people were in their mind saying, I bet they're going to do Super Street Fighter V. They're going to do another re-release of Street Fighter V, and I'm not going to buy this day one. I'm not going to be fooled again with Street Fighter 4. Because that's why Street Fighter 4 sold so well. It was because they didn't think that there was going to be another iteration of that game so quickly, unless they were going to do a sequel to that game. So people are probably expecting Street Fighter 5 to have another version. That's probably why it didn't sell that much, because people didn't want to trust Capcom, because they did that with Street Fighter 4, they did that with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they did that even with Street Fighter Cross Tekken in a sense, where they had the DLC that was like $20, which was ridiculous. But, I really don't think people didn't buy Street Fighter 5 because the game sucks. I think it was just because they were waiting for Super Street Fighter 5 to come out down the road, or until all the content is released. Because, that's the one thing with this generation of fighting games, that we keep getting, here's the vanilla game. Oh, next year, here's the real version of the game. It's like Mortal Kombat has done it, Injustice has done it, and I'm sure Injustice 2 is going to do it again. It's going to be constantly that. So fighting games are kind of killing themselves with these re-releases. So they're not really sales dynamos anymore because of this. Capcom has said that Street Fighter 5, all these updates that they're going to be doing is going to be free. You can earn the characters for free. You don't have to buy them unless you want to. All this stuff is going to be in the game. There's not going to be a Super Street Fighter 5 as a standalone game. It's going to be a deal. It's going to be a software update for Street Fighter 5. All that shit. That's what they have said. Now, are they going to follow through with that? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. But,
so you can't really have a direct comparison there. And you have to say, wow, sales numbers, it's a flop. It didn't reach Capcom sales expectations. It did not even get close to the sales numbers of Street Fighter 4. It's a flop. But if you ask the people... But
of course it's not going to reach Street Fighter 4 levels, because Street Fighter 4 was on, 3 platforms. It was maybe even more than that, because 4, if you include the 3DS version. There was the PC version, PS3, 360, and 3DS. 4 versions of that game. Of course, Street Fighter 4 sold more than Street Fighter 5, which is on 2 consoles. That's like comparing the sale of Snake Eater that was on the PS2 to Metal Gear Solid 5. It's like, oh yeah, I wonder which one sold more there, right?
In the competitive fighting game community, they'll paint a completely different picture. They'll say it's one of the best Street Fighters ever, that the Street Fighter community is the biggest that it's ever been. Look at stream attendance, every stream for every tournament and EVO, all the stream numbers are higher than they've ever been before for Street Fighter 4, and they will spew all of this kind of positive spin on Street Fighter 5, making it seem like it's one of the best fighting games ever made. I'm here today in this video to spew a little bit of truth for you. Because the
Oh
bottom line
man,
is,
truth.
I have no kind of investment
No.
in the fighting game community or Street Fighter V. Like I already mentioned, I'm a more diversified person. I do a wide variety of games on YouTube, and although I like covering fighting games, if a game fails or if a game is admittedly a bad game, I can call it that. Because I don't have to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and make them like
I can call them out on this. I can. Me. Don't listen to them. Listen to me.
seeing this game for the sake of personal benefit. Sadly, I hate to say it, but it looks like most of the competitive fighting game community when it comes to Street Fighter V are bullshitting you. They are telling you that this game is great at a high...
bullshitting you because they're telling you that they like the game and they think that the game is great. Stream numbers, well, that could be easily fact-checked by going to stream, seeing how many numbers are there. Go to Evo, see how many people register for a Street Fighter V tournament, and you'll see that's there. Now, you know, it's so weird. It's like, well, these people like the game, they're saying it's good, but obviously they're bullshitting you because there's no way people can like a game that I don't like, right? That's like me saying that people who dislike Metal Gear Solid 5 are bullshitting you because they don't like the game.
competitive level, it's amazing, and you don't have to listen to any of these mainstream naysayers. They're just noobs. They don't know what they're talking about.
Noobs.
It's just that now...
Where did they even say that in the art? When did the FGC say this? And that's the other thing I don't understand. Is FGC like a website? I mean, I know it stands for Fighting Game Community, but is that like a place? Hold on, let's see. FGC. Let's just maybe go there. Florida Gateway College. So there's that. The rise of fighting game community. Okay, there. Oh, so there's FGC Film. So is he talking about these people? But like this doesn't seem. No, can't be that. FGC Friends. Is it this? Are these people pro fighting game players? Urban Dictionary. Fifth Grade Center. So like, who's the FGC at? Like, where is he getting these? Like Shoryuken.com? He's going to like Shoryuken.com, but of course they're gonna like the game. I mean, but whatever.
Now, it's a more wide stream appeal for all games, so of course you're going to have more people talking shit about Street Fighter than ever before, and they will give you 5 million reasons why Street Fighter V is a great competitive game, and you should watch the streams, and you should watch them play it on stream, and you should attend tournaments, and you should put money into it, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with everyone here, alright?
I didn't mean to full screen. I'm going to go to Shoryuken.com. I'm probably not going to spell it right. Okay. Well, that's a wiki for Skullgirls. Yeah, the wiki for Skullgirls is great. I like Skullgirls. PC version Street Fighter 5 experiencing issues. Oh, but they're bullshitting you there though. So too sexy for his suit. Where are they selling me on going to tournaments? I really don't see that. Street Fighter 5 stage KO spoilers. Street Fighter 5 X characters unearthed. Free to play Dead or Alive 5. Wow, that's kind of whatever. Where are they saying I should go to tournaments? I don't see that. There's Shaquille O'Neal in Street Fighter 5. Where is these articles? Learn how to play Super Smash Bros. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Protect Our Memories. Should you consider Xenoverse to be a fighting game at this point? I mean, it's like almost like an RPG. Yeah, I don't really see. So you want to run a major behind the scenes look at Manila Cup. Oh, so they're talking about tournaments here. I mean, it's newsworthy to talk about tournaments. Yeah, so where are they saying that I should go to tournaments and I should pour money into this? I don't see that. And I don't have an account here either, so it's not all like a bullet, whatever.
Right? And I'm sure some people are going to circulate this video amongst the hardcore FGC, and I'm sure
Yeah,
there
that's
will
why
be
you did
people
it.
who will respond and say stupid shit. I don't care. The bottom line
I
is
don't
this:
care.
a lot of people wonder why I'm not well regarded in the fighting game community anymore. A lot of it was because when I started out, I was very immature and I talked a lot of shit, and I always kind of had confrontational things go on at tournaments and things like that. But that all ended around, say, I don't know, I'd say probably the early to mid 2000s. The real reason why I'm not welcome in the fighting game community a lot of times anymore, especially when it comes to places like Evo or anything in California, is because I was always the whistleblower in the Street Fighter community. If there was bullshit going on at a tournament...
Always the whistleblower, dude. Like, I love... Dude, this is the thing. I got called this on a video of mine. By, I'm going to shout out this guy's YouTube channel. He's a great YouTuber. He has only 3 videos. He's great. His videos are taken from Fred Fucks because he's very creative in that regard. Just takes the same video of him and just put his logo there, which is so much work to do. I know, it's crazy. Now I'm sure I'm going to get like, oh, but Fred Fucks takes videos from Phil. But this isn't Fred Fucks' channel. I got called a tattletale because I was like, hey, Fred, this guy, he has you upload your videos, man. Like, that's it. Fred Fucks probably didn't give a shit. He probably didn't even read my tweet. Okay, what do you do? So, apparently I'm a tattletale and I should be ashamed, but him being a whistleblower, hey, thumbs up, and all his fans always snitch on detractors, so... Double standard people, but again... Phil has a lot of double standards, so it kind of rubs off onto his fans. His fans don't know any better.
If there was corruption, if there was something there that just didn't seem kosher, or if the organizers of Shoryuken.com or the forums or the tournaments themselves were doing collusion and other kinds of stuff, I would speak up and call them out on it. They don't like me because of that. I actually got into trouble many times, was permanently banned from Shoryuken.com multiple times, although sometimes I ended up getting unbanned and then, brought back or whatever for whatever reason. The bottom line is they don't like me because I'm honest.
Dude, I think anything he wasn't banned. Like, he probably got banned there as well. I don't know the story for why he got banned on Shoryuken, so I've been hearing that, like, he got banned for different reasons than what he says in this video, so there's that, but I'm just gonna go off by what he said here and pretend that he was telling the truth, and just assume he's telling the truth. But I'm sure he wasn't banned for a while. I think he was probably suspended. Like, it was a temp ban that they give people. I've been temp banned on other forums before, and the ban would expire, and you'd be able to come back and post. That's probably what he got, and assume that that bans, there's only one type of ban that's like a permanent ban, but there's temporary bans on forums. But whatever.
Because I will stir the shit if there's shit to be stirred, because people need to know the truth. And the bottom line is, the situation right now with Street Fighter V is one of these situations where people are having the wool pulled over their eyes for the benefit of this select group of upper echelon players who are making money on a living of playing competitive fighting games. The bottom line is that Street Fighter V is fucking inferior to every numbered Street Fighter. The only one I would say that came close to being this bad was the original vanilla Street Fighter 3, which was called New Generation. That one was very broken at launch, but then when they released Second Impact and Third Strike, the game became progressively better over the next couple of years and made it...
But they can't do that with Street Fighter 5, though. I mean, obviously, they can't ever patch the game to make it better. No, like... He just said, like, well, Street Fighter 3 was pretty bad, but they fixed it over the other games where you had to buy the game again, so that you would get the better experience. But Street Fighter 5, like, it's only not even a year old, and they could always patch the game to make it better, but, the game sucks because it released that way, and, them doing free patches is nonsense. But them doing server updates, oh, let me tell you how bullshit that is.
Tournament worthy. Street Fighter V is not a good game when it comes to competitive gameplay, and I'm going to break it down for you why, And I'm also going to show you some of the ridiculous defenses that these pro fighting game players are coming out and saying to protect their own asses, so you'll still turn up to watch their gameplay streams, to watch the tournament footage, and basically to say that the game's good so that you keep making the money and give them their e-popularity rather than actually tell the truth about Street Fighter V, that it's one of the poorest developed Street Fighters ever, implemented as a competitive game. It's fucking garbage, and the game should basically be thrown out so that we can have them start working on a legitimate game rather than just keep adding on DLC.
They should throw out the game that they made and make it better. They should just give up on that and just make another game from scratch. Because that's what people loved, right? When you bought Street Fighter 4 and then they're like, oh, here's Super Street Fighter 4. You have to buy the game again. That's what people want, right? They don't want to get updates or patches for the games now, right? They want to buy a whole new game. Like, and again, this is not me saying that like, you know, oh, Phil can't not like the game, oh, but like, he is acting as if they can't patch the game. I'm sure this installed 8-frame whatever that they said that's in the game, that's not the fight stick lag, whatever, can't be patched out. I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can. But according to Phil, Capcom should just scrap this game and make a new one instead of trying to make the game better. What?
Characters to a game that's a piece of garbage. Alright? Already, just because I said that, I'm already going to get tons of shit. But here goes, because I'm fucking real, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, rather than try to lie to you to make money. Okay? First of all, Street Fighter V has far too few characters. It's that simple. Street Fighter 4 had more.
But he just said they shouldn't add characters, and now he's like, well, they don't have a lot of characters. Then what is it, Phil? Should they add more characters, or shouldn't they? You just said that they shouldn't be adding characters, and now you said that they should add more characters. Street Fighter V. Actually, no. Let's look at vanilla Street Fighter 4's roster. Let's compare the two, right? Okay. Street Fighter 4 roster. Blah, blah, blah. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll count. We're gonna count. Okay, guys. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Did I double count? I don't think so. So that's 19 characters. Okay. Street Fighter 5 roster size 16. So it has a little bit few, but not by much. It's not like noticeably smaller. So like Vanilla 4 had 19. This has 16. So that's like 16, 17, 18, 19. Three characters short. 3 characters short, and it's the smallest character size ever. Go play Pokken Tournament and tell me how amazing that roster size is, but I don't know if that has the same amount, whatever, I don't fucking care at this point, but, yeah, they shouldn't add more characters, but they need to add more characters.
Almost every competitive fighting game has had more up to now, especially in 2016. You need more than just a core selection of characters, and they didn't do a good job. What they basically did in Street Fighter V, they added a bunch of new characters, which is great, and then they took every character from a game that basically hadn't been in Street Fighter recently and crammed them the fuck in there to say, oh look, returning characters, and try to build up hype for a game. It doesn't work. What they needed to do when they created the cast of Street Fighter V, they needed to make a balance of characters. They didn't do that. If you actually look at the cast of Street Fighter V, at a fundamental level, the reason that the game is not good competitively is because everyone who doesn't have the same properties sucks. So allow me to explain. Characters like Chun-Li, Ryu, Nash, they're great. You want to know why they're great? Because they have invincible reversal moves. When they're in a trouble and they're getting rushed down or attacked rapidly, they can blow through your attack string with an invincible reversal move. They have some of the best moves in the game, 3-frame moves, meaning they're incredibly fast at implementation, they have the most invincibility, they have the ability to combat others in a way that the others can't do because they don't have these invincible reversals and these 3-frame moves. They just can't. They can't hold a candle to the rest of the cast, this upper echelon.
While I have fought Street Fighter V online and I beat some Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, and Nash players, I mean, they're really... I think Nash is the worst. Ken Ryu, every Ken Ryu player, I guarantee, has a pattern down. So you just have to know their pattern. So, like, obviously with your Ken or Ryu, if you go in the air, they're going to do a Shoryuken. Don't go in the air when they're... Or expect when they fall, they're going to do a wake-up Shoryuken. Expect that. So always get ready to block. So then, when they do a Shoryuken like an idiot, you can punish that. Very simple, right? Okay. Now bear with me on this. When they do a Hadouken, either block or time it so that you jump over it. And then, if you jump, over it enough, you can hit them as they're recovering from the Hadouken. There you go. It's just, you gotta know these patterns. And sometimes you can do overhead, underhead. Sometimes you're gonna have to do, crossovers or whatever. You have to kind of know these patterns, and the only way you're gonna learn these patterns is by playing the game. I know, it's surprising. Phil hasn't played Street Fighter V in months, so you can't really... I don't understand how he expects to learn these patterns that these players have by not playing the game for like as much as most people have. And that's how it is with every game. When I go to I haven't played Skullgirls in like months. I was on it like maybe last night and a few days ago, and guess what? I got my ass handed to me because I haven't played that game very well. So when I see characters like Big Band, Peacock, Fortune, all these characters, Squiggly, I forget their patterns or I forget their moves. Sometimes I forget which has priority. I remember some stuff. I remember some of Big Band's moves have a lot of armor to them. So, you'll get fucked up with Big Band if you don't know that he has an aerial grab, he has an anti-air grab, he has moves that have shields on them, he has a super that you can add on to, all this crazy shit. But the only way you learn is by playing the game more. I can't expect the Master Eliza if I just stop playing and then go back and like, what? I'm fucking up, dude. What the fuck? Like, of course I'm gonna get my ass handed to me because I can't remember what has priority. What the other guy's gonna be thinking. I can't think that if I haven't been playing the game to recognize these patterns.
Of the tier list of Street Fighter V. Okay? Now that's logical sense coming to you, and I know a lot of you might not even know what I'm talking about if you don't have a technical mind for fighting games. That's just black and white. The upper echelon of Street Fighter V have things that the other casts don't have. They have more options and tools because they were given these abilities, alright? Now, here's what I want to ask you. Look at all the other Street Fighter games in the past, right? You had charge characters, you had motion characters, you had everyone. But typically when you look at tier lists for games, you can see that there's a variety of characters that usually can sit at the top. It's not just one style of character, and maybe 2 or 3 characters have a really overpowered stuff, but they don't all play the same. The bottom line is all of the characters at the top of Street Fighter V play the fucking same. That's the sign of a dev team that didn't know what they were doing.
But, everyone like Shao and Alex. I have seen a lot of good Alex players. A lot of good ones. It's amazing how everyone still claims that Alex is bottom tier and he's garbage and all this stuff, but I have seen great Alex players. They have good punishers. They have good moves. It's just you have to learn these characters. This is why I don't really care that much about tier lists when people talk about them, because it's at the end of the day, it's how you play that character. Because if you keep playing the way that like, oh well, this and that, then it's just, why are you playing? Like, it's just, for example, Eliza is a very slow character. I mean, but to me, I would argue that I could see why people would say that she might be a slow character, that she's heavy, but it's like, that she's a heavy character. But I find her that sometimes she can be very fast because she can cross the edge Like, if there's a gap, she can make that gap quickly. She has an armored move that she can take hits as she's crossing that gap. She can go over and then she can kind of hover a little bit over. She can do all these things to bridge that gap that makes up for it. A lot of characters have these moves. The worst character in Skullgirls is apparently Squiggly, but she has a lot of moves to her disposal to make up for these shortcomings. You have to learn these characters. It's just when people say that they're low tier, what they're really saying is that these characters are very hard to master. To me, that's the only thing when I see a tier list that I get out of it, is that the top tier are usually the easiest characters to master, the bottom are the hardest. They're just the hardest. But if you know these characters, that's not going to be an issue. If you master them, if you go in training stage, if you do all this stuff with them, you're gonna master these characters. Ibuki has small health in Street Fighter V, but I've gotten around that because she's so fast that she can just make up for that health. I have bodied people with Ibuki. I would have this much health, and the opponent might have maybe over half, and I won matches that way because I would just keep moving. Because half the time Ryu and Ken players rely on is chip, and you just trying to get combos in. You have to be patient in that game, which Phil doesn't have. That's the thing with 5, is that you have to be much more patient with that game than you were in any other Street Fighter game. And that's what sucks, because the focus attacks in 4 allowed you to keep moving, because that would if you attack while someone's doing a focus, they can still attack you as you're attacking their focus unless you grab them. But a lot of people just keep doing that because it's a very offensive game. Street Fighter V is a little bit more defensive than offensive. So if you're more offensive, that might work for you, but at the same time, if you're playing against someone that's really defensive, you're gonna lose. I have played matches where I played nothing but offensive and I lose, because a lot of people were waiting for opportunities to strike after each attack I do. That's why a lot of people lose. That's why he loses a lot half the time when I see him on Street Fighter V. He panics and he's trying to keep being on the offense, but that's not going to get him far in matches anymore.
Because a good fighting game has a wide variety. I mean, Blanca, first of all, he's not even in Street Fighter V. He's always kind of been, if played at a competitive level, a really good character. If you look at games like CVS 2 and Street Fighter 4, he was always kind of viable. Now, of course, they nerfed him several times and he ended up not being as good. But the bottom line is, look at E Honda, right? He was almost tournament worthy. Now, are you going to tell me that E Honda plays the same as Ryu? Fuck no. They're completely different style of characters. The problem is, in Street Fighter V, you don't have that diversity. The top tier of the game is all the same shit. And one of the major complaints that people have been giving is that all year they're hyping DLC character coming out, DLC characters coming out, pay more money to get the DLC characters, and then the DLC character comes out.
Well, you can get the game characters for free. I might have bought maybe one character with real money, and I think that was Ibuki, because I had enough for Alex, I had enough for Jury, Balrog. I had enough for Balrog. Then I had enough for Jury once I paid off Ibuki for money, and then I had enough for Urien. The only character I do not have right now is Guile, because I don't fucking like Guile. I don't fucking give a shit about him. But at some point, I'm gonna rake up enough fight money to get him.
Oops, doesn't have an invincible reversal, doesn't have those good 3-frame moves, the character sucks. And then everyone complains, well, what the fuck? You hyped up this character, and you didn't give them the tools of the already established top-tier Street Fighter V. What gives? Now, that's a legitimate criticism. But now, alright, allow me to give you my first kind of point here in regards to how the competitive fighting game community wants to super go defense force on Street Fighter V and protect it from any legitimate criticism. Here's a direct quote from the front page of EventHubs.com. For those of you who don't know, EventHubs.com is a major fighting game coverage website. The byline states, are we being a bit too harsh on Street Fighter V's DLC characters? Well, Alex Valle's wisdom says that these new fighters aren't as bad as we think. And if you go to read the series of tweets that this article quotes, basically it's Valle saying, listen, you gotta look historically at Street Fighter. If you look at games from the past, the characters who were top tier at the very beginning weren't necessarily top tier the entire time. Or vice versa, maybe they did stay top tier, but over the development of that game's life cycle, other characters were developed after they had more time to be played, and they were found to be up there as well. So here's some examples of this. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. When the game first released, everyone complained that Ken, Chun-Li, and eventually Yun, or Yun, however you fucking say his name, were the 3 top tier characters, and no one could hold a candle to them. But over the development of this game over the 2000s, people found that characters like Urien, right? Characters like Yang, these characters could be played at a competitive level, that they could actually hold their own in a tournament setting, okay? And it is definitely needs to be said, this is a true statement. Also, look at Street Fighter 4. When Street Fighter 4 Vanilla was released, Sagat was the most powerful character by far, because he had the easy FADC cancel into a giant combo with his Ultra that did insane damage. He could even trade his Tiger Uppercut and still get the insane damage. No one else could do that. If they traded, they couldn't get that free damage like Sagat could. Alright? But then, over the time of development of the game, the established top tier of characters like Sagat then had to give way to characters like Seth or Sea Viper.
But they nerfed Sagat, though. They nerfed him. Didn't? At least I thought they nerfed him. I thought they nerfed him in Super Street Fighter 4 because everyone talked about him.
Right? These characters weren't tournament top tier worthy at the launch of the game, but after a few months of people playing it competitively, they found that these characters, even though they're a lot harder to play, ended up being top tournament contenders. Fine, I'll acknowledge that. That's an absolutely true statement. But here's the problem with what Valle is saying. All of the characters that Valle just described were in the fucking games at launch. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike had those characters in it. So did Street Fighter 4. You didn't pay extra money to get those characters, right? They weren't released later on. So
didn't they add characters amongst the versions of Street Fighter 3? Whatever. But what's Street Fighter 4's excuse then? You had to buy a whole new game after you bought Street Fighter 4. You didn't get the cast roster of Super Street Fighter 4 if you had Street Fighter 4. You had to buy Super Street Fighter 4. And then you had to buy the DLC to get Oni Akuma, Evil Ryu, Yun, Yang, who else? I'm missing, DeCapra, Poison, Rolento, Hugo, Elena, and there might be one more. All those characters you had to buy. You had to buy. So, want to talk about Street Fighter 4, Phil? You want to talk about that?
his argument is, oh, well, you just need more time with those characters. Okay, but I had to pay money for those fucking characters to be in the game, in additional to the $60 that I already fucking paid. So you're telling me that I have to now take extra time for this character to develop because they already established this really easy mode top tier who have all the best attributes of the top tier characters in the game. And if I want to actually be good with a DLC character, not only do I have to pay extra money to fucking get them later on in the life cycle of the game, but now I have to take even more time to just keep playing and playing and fucking playing. The question here is, how much of a life cycle is Street Fighter V gonna fucking have?
Capcom said that they want to make Street Fighter 5 a long game. They want to keep, they want to keep it as long as they possibly can, because that's why they said, there's Super Street Fighter 5, that's going to be a patch. If there's going to be a new version of Street Fighter 5, that'll be a patch for the vanilla Street Fighter 5, and you can get all these characters and stuff for free if you just play the game and rake up fight money.
Right? Street Fighter 3 Third Strike all pretty much died in the late 90s, early 2000s. It went away. It was always a game that was played as a side game in tournaments. And it was only after 8 years of people playing this as a side game that they found out, oh my god, these other characters can be played at a top tournament level too. Are we going to be playing Street Fighter 5 for 8 fucking years? Of course we're not. That's a preposterous statement. It's a preposterous notion. Street Fighter 4, those characters, Seth and Sea Viper, they were already found to be good within the first year. We're 7 months into the life cycle of Street Fighter V, and we haven't found really viable contenders who can blow through that top tier of the Street Fighter V character list yet. So
I have blown through those tier lists before. I main as Armika, Karen, Rashid, Laura, I might be missing one. But I also dabble with Ibuki and Jury. Oh, and Bison. I've been getting into Bison. Uh, I've been able to get through the top tier list easily by just playing the game. Because half those people who are great with Nash, Ken, and Ryu and all those characters, they mastered a pattern that they can do that can kind of blow through anything. You just have to know the pattern, and they're not that hard. I mean, Nash is a little bit more tricky. He's a little bit more work. I don't really like fighting against Nash, so Nash I'll kind of concede. I'll concede Nash. I think Nash needs to be nerfed. That's it. I think if they nerf Nash, I can tolerate Nash, but because I can tolerate all these other characters, Nash needs to just be nerfed.
I call bullshit. This statement down here is bullshit. This is not comparable in Street Fighter V situation to previous Street Fighter games. It's a completely different situation. It's complete bullshit. Yes, it is true that if we just sat there and played the same version of Street Fighter V over and over and over for the next several years, maybe some of the mid-tiers will find some kind of a strategy that they can actually compete with the top tiers, but it's not going to be like that. And Capcom has already announced that probably once a year they're going to tweak the game. There won't be like a Super Street Fighter V or an Ultra Street Fighter V. Instead, they're going to tweak it. So why next year they're just going to tweak it anyway? So why even spend time playing the mid-tier characters when you know Capcom's going to patch the fucking game next year and probably change it all?
Oh my god. What? The game has unbalanced characters. People are all these characters are top tier. But then Capcom is gonna release a patch to rebalance the game, but they should balance the game. They should tweak the game, but they shouldn't tweak the game. But they tweaked Street Fighter 4 with patches before. Like, remember the big update in 2012? They even called it version 2012 or whatever. That changed the tier list. That changed how Cody works. I mean, I was maining Cody, and they changed how his damage output, his rock throw, and all this stuff. So, what the fuck? And honestly, they're probably gonna nerf Karen. To be honest, they're probably gonna nerf her if anything. But even then, I can still probably main as her because I know her combos. I can make up for whatever they do to her because I know the character. If you know the character, the balance, the nerf and buffs aren't gonna matter because you probably are already good with the character. What the fuck is the art? Oh my god! Like the art. So what he's saying is what Capcom should be doing is stuff that people hated that they did in Street Fighter 4. Because everything he said that they should be doing, they did in Street Fighter 4, and people complained because they had to pay money to get to get these fixes. Oh my god, dude. Just don't play Street Fighter again. Don't buy a Capcom game.
So guess what? Via's statement, completely invalid, makes no fucking sense, and doesn't even apply to this situation. Let's talk about some other things that are major criticisms of Street Fighter V that people are just like writing off and saying, oh, that's not a valid criticism and how dare you, it's a good competitive game. One of the major criticisms of Street Fighter V from the get-go has been that it didn't feel like the other Street Fighters and no one could really put their finger on it until a few months ago when it was announced, oh, Street Fighter V has 8 frames of in-game input lag, meaning it actually has the most designed input lag in it than any competitive Street Fighter game up to now.
Oh,
okay?
no.
What that means is when you press your button, it doesn't react immediately. There's installed 8 frames between when you press this and when that thing actually will happen on your television screen. And it's bigger than any other game. Now, a lot of people are up in arms about this. In particular, a lot of competitive people and also some, mainstream gamers. They're like, you're telling me if someone jumps at me and in Street Fighter 4, I can do an anti-air move faster than I could ever do it in Street Fighter 5 because of the input lag. The answer is yes. You will get better reactions in any other Street Fighter game than in Street Fighter 5.
Well, I've actually punished people who jumped. Karen has an EX move if you do a quarter circle punch, double punch, whatever, the EX of it. She will do like a twist punch up, so if someone's jumping at you, that stops them. Rashid has a spinning mixer, I think that also is an anti-air. How do you think Ken or Ryu players punish people for jumping when they do Shoryukens? You can kind of understand that, oh, he's jumping, and you get him. 9 times out of 10. The only, like, even Laura has an anti-air. The only thing that sucks about Laura's anti-air, for me at least, is every time I try to do it, I guess when you do a chord circle, I guess when I'm putting that in, I goes down and left or down right, whatever, and it's not picking the in-between. So I might either just be doing this, and not doing, like, the full motion, maybe. But, see, I'm being critical of myself, see, because I know that, like, maybe I'm like, rushing that because I'm seeing the guy jumping, I'm getting, like, really eager to punish, or I'm getting, like, really, like, panicking and trying to punish it, and when you do that, you're not really thinking of, like, how fast you're moving your thumb and what is being read. But he has a fight stick, so maybe he's just, like, doing that.
Period. It's just that simple. Now, the competitive fighting game community who are so into Street Fighter V and need to succeed have made all these fucking excuses up. In fact, here's another headline, straight from the front page of EventHubs.com from the other day. Oh, L.I. Joe to the Street Fighter V community. The game's input lag was clearly intentional, so stop whining about it. And if you read the article, it's about how he was on some show or podcast, and he was basically saying, well, didn't you see that in the actual gameplay of Street Fighter V, that some of the moves have longer frames than in any other Street Fighter before, like active frames. So in one Street Fighter, you'd press jab, and it would be out there. In Street Fighter V, you press jab, and it goes out there and lasts longer. All right? Okay, and, like, what does that prove? I'll tell you what it proves. It proves that the game developers are fucking hacks and made a worse version of Street Fighter than all the others. Just because you're making a justification for more delay doesn't mean it's better than previous Street Fighter games. It actually means at its innate core that it's worse. In any competitive situation, you need to have the fastest possible reaction. Why don't you go ask a basketball player who, gee, when someone's coming at you and they're going to steal, do you think you'd like to react immediately or a little bit more delay? Oh, well, I'd like the more delay. Yeah, right. No one's going to fucking tell you that. It's just black and white logic that more input delay makes a game worse. If you can't react fast enough to something happening in a competitive environment, you are at a disadvantage. Street Fighter V is that game. In fact, I will tell you, I grew up with Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo being my competitive game in arcades, okay? There's no way that someone who's only played Street Fighter V could jump into Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and ever fucking play it at a competitive level, because that game is fucking delayed. It's that simple. You could not go back to the games that need better hand-eye coordination, better and faster reactions, because that game plays slow. And that's a sad fact. Street Fighter V plays slow. When you get a quote like this, oh, stop whining about it, because it's just in there and, the game is designed for bullshit. Call it what it is.
God,
terrible
so
compared to previous Street Fighter games. Worse. It's not better. It's not okay. It's worse. This is a black and white fucking situation that cannot be remedied by spinning it your way and just telling people not to fucking whine. That's ridiculous. If something's worse, you have a right to complain. If Capcom has a reputation to uphold, because in the past they've always been held in the upper echelon of the best fighting game developers. If they develop a fighting game that's not as good as the previous ones, you, as a gamer, have a right to fucking complain and call them out for their bullshit and their shortcomings. Because the bottom line is, if we listen to L.I. Joe and we all stop complaining, guess what? They'll never make a better game. They'll just go back even further. Oh, well, they were okay with the 8 frames. Give them fucking 10 now, because it's obvious that the whole fighting game community is just going to accept it and play it because it has the fucking Capcom stamp on it, and they want to get their E-hype and their stream monsters and make their fucking money streaming the game. Doesn't matter how bad the fucking game is. Make it even worse. That's what's going to happen. No, you have to demand something better, or that game developer will do worse. This is the worst possible reaction you could ever have to having factual evidence that a game is not as good as its previous iterations. It's ridiculous, and it's so fucking irresponsible to say shit like that.
Irresponsible.
To a fan base or a viewer base who may not understand the game at a competitive level, that's a dangerous fucking...
But see, I love how... when a detractor, like me, says that, oh, we should look at his Patreon, people should really demand more. out of his Patreon. It's like, no, 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 deal with it. It's fine. My Patreon is fine. Like how he just always defends his Patreon. But it's so hypocritical for him to say that demand more of developers, but don't demand more of me. What is it going to be? Remember when people would ask him to edit his playthroughs, to remove some of the fails or some of the backtracking or just the frustrating stuff, and he was like, no, no, I'm not going to do that. Fuck you. And he still doesn't do that. He doesn't do that at all because that's his perk. Now, of course, you can say that, well, is Capcom's perk that they make a game that they shouldn't? No. But you can't say that you need to ask more of other people, but you can't ask more of myself. It's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He has shot on so many people who complained at Phil for like reasons that they could make his videos better, and he tells them to shut up and stop whining.
Statement to make. Now, I have a picture to show everyone, all right? It's pretty funny, I'm going to admit. I found this morning on Twitter. Actually, one of my viewers tweeted it to me, and he had found it from someone else who had tweeted it, and no one knows who had originally created it, so I wish I could give credit to whoever originally created this picture. I can't, but this is pretty funny. Let me bring it up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Street Fighter V Defense Force bingo game. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. Here are some of the hilariously common things that the competitive fighting game community are saying in defense of Street Fighter V so that you won't think it sucks and you'll keep playing it. Let's go from upper left to bottom right in order, left to right. We've got, the devs intentionally made it this way. The devs intentionally made a bad game. No, if they did do it, it's because they're bad game developers, not because they wanted a slow, delayed game. It's because they're fucking hacks. I mean, it's not like they had multiple online betas and shit that didn't work to prove that, right?
Why can't he just move the bingo list to the left and not be like, hi guys, what's up? I'm doing a video. There's a thing right here, so like I gotta talk like this so you see my face so you know I'm talking, so you're not confused.
Let's see, next over. You're just a Third Strike or Street Fighter 4 fanboy. Yes, I'm a fan of good games. Top players aren't having any problems. I've already...
But didn't he shit on Street Fighter 4? Didn't he say it was a bad game?
Playing. Top players are playing the living fuck out of the game to make money, to get their sponsorships, to keep their live streams going, to keep having the money roll in the
I did not know. Oh my god, Phil. I did not know I was getting paid to play the game. Holy shit. I need to call Capcom. I need to tell them right now that I need a paycheck because I play Street Fighter V.
Fame and the attention roll in. If this game was even worse and more delayed, they would still kiss its fucking ass because this is the only current game that Capcom has out. And you know what? That's an important point that I want to bring up before we move on. You got to remember something. Capcom back in the day always had tons of fighting games out that could saturate the market. All right, let's talk about the launch of Street Fighter 3.
I love how he's talking about. And lastly, this like escaped my mind. He streams Street Fighter V and gets paid for it. Not from Capcom, of course not, but he gets paid for doing streams, for doing videos. So he's playing Street Fighter V. Well, today's Friday, so he's playing it today. He's playing Street Fighter V, and he's getting paid for it. Yeah, shit on those people who do streams of Street Fighter V and happy to get paid for it. But oh yeah, you're different, Phil. It's not like you monetize your videos and oh.
New generation. Most people hated the game. It's true. Most people say, oh, the stun is ridiculous. There's 2 or 3 characters in this game. If they hit you with one combo, you're stunned, and it's a touch of death combo where if you get hit once, the game's over. Okay? It was horribly broken, that game, at launch. That's why they came out with Second Impact and Third Strike to dramatically improve the gameplay engines. And most people, from competitive level, yes, there were tournaments for new generation.
But Phil, why would people play the vanilla version of Street Fighter 3, master these characters, and then play Third Strike and then have to learn them again? Why would anyone do that? Didn't you just say that if Capcom changes the balancing system, that it ruins the character? Now it doesn't? This whole video, he literally. This is why. Another video that proves my theory that he has a fucking memory problem. He contradicts himself in this same video. Um, they need to add more characters, but they don't. They shouldn't add more characters as DLC, but they need to add more characters. Don't people who stream Street Fighter 5 only do it for money. Watch my stream on Street Fighter 5 on Friday. Why learn characters? Because if Capcom's just gonna change the tier list by just nerfing and buffing characters. But people like Street Fighter 3, then they bought the other version when they fixed the tier list and that nerfed and buffed characters. What is it, Phil? Which one is it? Should Capcom nerf and buff characters, or shouldn't they? What is the difference with giving people a free update to the tier list than having people buy the same game again with a different tier list? What is the fucking point? And as far as I've seen with Street Fighter 3, see, this is why I also question his use of engines. Because I'm pretty sure Street Fighter 3, all the versions use the same engine. I have a hunch that they do. But, like, whatever. Let's continue.
But it was kind of almost boycotted until a better version came out. So what did those gamers do? They went out and played the Street Fighter Alpha series, the Versus series, which was huge at the time, and then Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2 started coming out. So there was always other games from Capcom at the time that were popular and were seen at a higher competitive level as Street Fighter 3 New Generation, and people went and played those. Guess what? There's nothing out there right now. Street Fighter 4 is old, and people are bored of it and don't want to play it anymore. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 has been dead for years. I mean, that game was so broken at launch, and the only reason I think anyone ever enjoyed it was because it was so flashy and it would get lots of views on stream. At a competitive level, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate were always trash. It was always a one-hit, you win the match. It was complete garbage. And then, wow, let's start playing Street Fighter Cross Tekken again. Oops, I shouldn't have mentioned the taboo game, right? So let's just ignore all the... Capcom has nothing that can be played right now at a competitive level besides Street Fighter V. So there's nothing else to go to. In the past, the competitive players would have said, well, I'm just going to boycott that and we'll play something else. Now they have to play Street Fighter V, because if they don't, oh no, Street Fighter dies, right? It dies, it goes out of the limelight, and you'll have other franchises like Mortal Kombat and their upcoming Injustice 2 and Tekkens and all these other games, right, that have been coming out that might overtake it. And they don't want that because the Street Fighter is their bread and butter, right? Now, in addition to that, it's hilarious because some of these same players who are saying, oh, you know...
But he shat on, like, other games, too. Like, someone asked him about Killer Instinct or Skullgirls, and he says, those games are not relevant. No one plays them. I've seen people play those games. The only thing with Skullgirls is that the community is kind of small. It's a small community. So, like, let's say, for instance, I play Skullgirls and he plays Skullgirls. I'm pretty sure I'll get a match with him easily without even trying, because the community is kind of small. But but that's the thing that with Skullgirls is that it's kind of a mixed thing. I kind of like that it has a small community, because then it feels like that you're truly learning the game, because you get to go against these other people. But it also kind of sucks because you might have to wait a long time to get a match. But it is what it is. I mean, of course, Skullgirls is not going to get the size of mainstream fighters like King of Fighters. King of Fighters is mostly mainstream at this point. Mortal Kombat, those kind of games. But Skullgirls still gets people. People still play it. And as far as like, oh, well, there's other games to play. There's other Capcom fighting games to play. I mean, they have Street Fighter 4 on PS4. People still play that game. I've seen matches of people with Street Fighter 4. I've played against people with Street Fighter 4 recently.
Top players aren't having any problems. These same top players who have no problems with Street Fighter 5 previously boycotted games. Let's talk real, all right? Let's go back to...
Whoa, they changed their opinions. They boycotted something in the past and now they don't? It's like Phil saying that, oh, I'm never going to do an edited channel. He makes an edited channel. If he's going to shit on people for boycotting games in the past and then not boycotting games now, then we should have shit on him for opening a editing channel and editing videos. Now, so I'm sure someone's going to say, well, Theo, didn't you criticize him for that? No. See, the thing I criticized him for over that was he could have done edited videos from the start. He didn't have to make a third channel. I don't think he should have made that third channel. The edited video should be in either the King of Hate Vlogs or DSP Gaming. Because then he's like, oh, well then, but the King of Hate Vlogs isn't the same partnership, but he had gameplay videos and his Hateful Truth videos on his King of Hate Vlogs channel. So how did those videos get passed, but if he does those videos, it doesn't, I don't know, but whatever.
To the Evo that I got 4th place at, alright? In Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Let's go back. And you don't believe me, go fucking look at Evo results. I got 4th place in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and the top 3 placers were Japanese players. I was the best American player at Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo at that Evo, alright? But that version of the game was the PlayStation 1 version, and all the top Super Turbo players said, that version is inferior, it's not the properties of moves are different, the input delay is different, we're boycotting. And there were players, including Alex Valle, who's defending Street Fighter V now, who boycotted Evo that year and did not play in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo because they thought it was an inferior game, and they were not going to play that year. Oh, but now, there's nothing else to play now, so now he can't boycott it, right? Because his whole business and everything rides on fighting games. Oh, isn't it funny how a few years later things change, huh? Such controversy.
It's so funny. It's not like there was Guilty Gear or any other fighting games, but obviously that guy cannot like Street Fighter V. Obviously.
Such hypocrisy from these fucking people, to be quite honest. Alright, let's go back to the list. How about, the past games were needlessly difficult. Oh, no, what you mean is, the past games needed to have a certain established skill level for you to be good at them. You actually had to practice and play and get at a higher level in order to actually progress in them. This game, you just want every Joe Splamoni to just play it for fucking hours, find the abusive characters who have the best properties, like I said, the invincible reversals and such, and just blow through everything. Bullshit. That's a bad rationality. Nobody needs single-player content in a fighting game. Well, guess what? I think sales numbers...
Oh my god, these faces, this is ridiculous, but, I do think it's kind of dumb when people say, like, oh, Street Fighter V doesn't, it's like, no, we need an arcade mode. I think the offline modes should matter, so, yeah, I don't think Street Fighter V is that friendly to people who like arcade mode. I wouldn't recommend it because of that alone. If you like arcade mode, don't buy Street Fighter V. Simple as that. Buy Skullgirls. That has an arcade mode and a better survival mode in my opinion. But sales numbers doesn't really connect to offline content either, to be fair, but whatever.
Numbers differ. I think gamers do want single player content, and the game would have fucking sold if it had it, you numb.
But what single player content could you add in a fighting game though? And plus, like, yeah, arcade mode I guess is single player content. But the other thing with Street Fighter fighting games, and when I got into like Street Fighter 4 was my first Street Fighter game. When I got into that, I knew immediately what that focus was for Street Fighter was to play people, is a multiplayer experience. But it's also kind of funny how he says this. And yet he defends Overwatch, a multiplayer-only game with 0 offline modes. I mean, there might be like a training mode or something, but 90% of Overwatch is online only. Like you're gonna be playing online when you buy Overwatch, regardless. Even if you don't want to, you're gonna be online. He defends that game, but Street Fighter V, that can't be online only. Can't be. There's no way. But Overwatch, let's defend Overwatch. I mean, he can like Overwatch more than Street Fighter V, sure, but he can't like Overwatch for the same reasons he's bashing Street Fighter for. That's what I'm getting at.
Nuts. Be grateful that Capcom listens to their fans. Oh my god. This is a good one. And the reason
listen to their fans. People who complained about Street Fighter 4 getting multiple iterations and having to buy the same game 3 times. Oh man, and now in Street Fighter V, they're making a game where you can get the characters for free with fight money. You don't need to buy multiple versions of Street Fighter V to get the latest version of Street Fighter V. And then you go off topic of Street Fighter. Everyone liked Frank West in Dead Rising. They put Frank West in Dead Rising for there were people who do complain about the time limit. They removed the time limit, which I kind of think is kind of a dumb reason, but whatever. But they don't listen to fans, right? People complain about Resident Evil being an action shooter game. They made Resident Evil 7 a more horror type game, but of course people didn't want that apparently. I guess no one wanted a horror game. I mean, when I looked at the number one criticism of 6 was it not being a horror game anymore. And we got a horror game now and people are not happy with that anymore. Okay.
I gotta laugh at this one. They're fans? They're fans? No. Capcom listened to the competitive fighting game community. You know, that community that compromises about maybe 20% of the fucking market. You know, Street Fighter 4, if you look at the sales numbers, how many people who actually bought Street Fighter 4 went on to play that game at a competitive level? Now, I realize that what I'm saying is hypocritical to my past, and I will admit, in the past, I was wrong. When I was in the competitive fighting game community, all I cared about was the competitive fighting game community. I did not have the ability to see from outside my little bubble, and I thought everything should be catered to the competitive players. They were the only ones that mattered. But the bottom line is, this is business. This is money, and this is making an entertaining game as well as a competitive game. And the bottom line is, Street Fighter V, at its core, isn't entertaining.
Maybe Capcom doesn't care about how well their game sells. I mean, yeah, they didn't sell to what they expected, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they only cared for how much it sold. If they cared about how much their games sold, Resident Evil would be dead right now. There would not be a Resident Evil 7. I guarantee there would not be a Resident Evil 7 if they cared about sales.
At all. It's fucking boring. It's a small cast of characters. Only a few characters can really be played viably when it comes to a high tournament level without massive time investment. Like Valle seems to say, you gotta play with these characters for like 2 years to get anywhere with those mid-tier characters. Yeah.
But that's the whole point of fighting games. You have to learn characters. You can't just... It would be boring if you just buy a fighting game and then master a character like that. That is so... Fuck. That's a boring game. Like, why would anyone want to keep playing a game if they already mastered it? It's like, you know, there's a reason why I stopped playing Peace Walker. Because I mastered that game. I got all my weapons are like god tier now. I basically, when I walk in Peace Walker, it's like trank, S rank. It's like, I don't have to try for S ranks in that game anymore. But for like Street Fighter V, it's like, okay, I have to try now. Okay, it doesn't seem like this combo's working. I'm gonna try mixing it up a little bit. I gotta learn her Karen's other moves. I know that you can do that rush move and then do that like whatever move that is, and then you can go into the kick thing. All that stuff you can kind of do and learn. You have to learn characters. That's the whole point of fighting games. That's the whole fundamental of fighting games. You have to learn these characters. I sucked as Eliza when I started playing as her. I had to master her Osiris Spiral. I gotta master her speed. I have to like make up for how slow she is sometimes. If someone's playing as Peacock, I know instantly they're gonna go to the other side of the screen and they're gonna spam projectiles. I have to learn how to go from one end of the screen to that and punish her for all those projectiles and learn, okay, I know the boat thing that she goes can take a few hits, and I can make maybe halfway to that. And then like she might go overhead if I go overhead, so I need to kind of fake her out to go there. Gotta do all the setups and fake setups for this character to trick her into thinking I'm gonna be doing something, and then make it my way there, and then just kind of slam her. I'm never gonna learn that if I just play one time and like, oh, I got by with Peacock, okay, I'm done, fuck this game. Like,
because we all have that kind of time, right? The bottom line is, this game was designed for the hardcore competitive players, and everyone else, the other people who would be considered fans of fighting games, were ignored and left in the dust. And that's why the game sold so poorly, because when you focus in on the wrong group of people, you fail. Capcom did not do any proper market research when they wanted to see who actually bought Street Fighter 4. They tried to focus it on the wrong group of people when they made Street Fighter 5, and their sales suffered for it, and the game sucks too. So it's a double whammy. Not only did you not sell the game, it's also the worst competitive Street Fighter in recent memory. Congratulations, you really listened to the fans on that one. let's keep going because this is just a who. You Americans complain about everything. Well, I guess I'll agree on that one. I mean, Americans do complain about everything, but the bottom line is that Americans demand a greater standard for their money. You know, they work their asses off. They spend their hard-earned money on a game. They want a game that's worth what they're fucking spending. When you can buy a game that has ridiculous amounts of content for $60, and then you go buy Street Fighter V and you've played the whole cast and done everything in like 4 hours, no. That means that you did not create an equivalent experience, and the consumer, whether they're American or not, has the right to complain. You should stop playing it if you hate it. I agree. I actually agree. If you absolutely hate Street Fighter V, stop.
If you hate Street Fighter, I hate Street Fighter 5. But I'm gonna play it in stream tomorrow, so stay tuned.
Playing it, and I mean that for real. And here's what I'm gonna say to everyone: you may have been the biggest fan of Street Fighter 4. You may have loved the game, right? You may have, man, I loved the game, and it was an amazing game, but Street Fighter 5 is just not as good as Street Fighter 4. Good. I'm glad that you actually have the self-realization to realize that you're playing a worse game. Stop playing Street Fighter 5. Stop attending all the streams for Street Fighter 5. Stop attending the tournaments for Street Fighter 5. Stop paying money to the pro players of Street Fighter 5 for subs on Twitch, because that's their big business, right? Stop it all and go do something else with your life until a better game comes out. That's the bottom line. Because right now what's happening is, oh, well, everyone's complaining about Street Fighter 5, but we're still playing it. And we're still going to tournaments, and we're still watching the streams, and we're still donating money, and we're still doing...
Because maybe those people like the game, and they like watching the stream, and they think the stream is entertaining. Maybe they're not donating to that streamer because he's playing Street Fighter 5. Maybe they're donating to him because they like that guy. It's like me saying that everyone who donates to Phil... likes his shirt. Yeah, you donate to Phil's Patreon because you like his shirt, right? That's why you donate to him. I could see it now. I mean, it's not like you like his content or like his videos or anything. No, it's the color of his shirt. So yeah, that doesn't make sense. Now, of course, that's a lesser extent than games. Okay, I'll reword it this time. Okay, how about that? Do over. Never said that. It's like I say that everyone who donates to Phil's Patreon are only donating to him because they like Until Dawn. That's the only reason why they donate to him, because they like Until Dawn. They're very crazy about Until Dawn. They're very hardcore fans of Until Dawn, so they're paying him because of that, not because they like his personality on YouTube. They like his vlogs, they like his videos, or anything like that. No. It's because he played Until Dawn. That's why people are donating to him. You see how dumb that sounds? And that sounds and if you're a DSP fan, you probably thought that sounded condescending. That I'm assuming that you only donate to him because he plays the game that you like. I assume when I see people donate to him, get this. I know I'm a huge detractor. I don't well, I guess I don't like his videos. Okay, I don't like his videos. There you go. I don't like his videos that much. They're kind of fun to watch, but they're ironically fun. Wow, I went to the defense on myself there, but it's like saying, but it's so dumb. It's like, yeah, despite me being a detractor, I kind of can see why like Ash, KG, Hardcore Parkour, Sammy Samos, all those, but like. I guess I could kind of see why they donate to him. Because they like his videos. They like it. They like his channel. They like what they see and all that kind of stuff. I would not say that they donate to him because they like Until Dawn or they like a game that he played. They probably donated to him because they like who he is. That's something that I don't think Phil gets. Because he keeps saying that, oh, people are not donating to my Patreon because we're not playing games that are very hyped. We're not playing like Dead Rising 4. That's why they're not donating. No one's donating because they might not like your videos, or they may not know of you, or they may not know your video well enough to donate to you. People who pledge to you are people who are very invested into your videos. For example, Mega64, they have a Patreon, but they have marketed their Patreon as a means for hardcore fans. It's like, yeah, if you want to go far and beyond going to the shop or watching our videos, donate to our Patreon. This Patreon is for hardcore fans that want to donate to us. That's all that they're marketing it to. They're marketing it to people who want to donate. They're not expecting someone who just watched one Mega 64 video to donate to their Patreon. That's ridiculous. No one's gonna do that. If I open a Patreon right now, are you guys gonna donate to me? Probably not. I mean, there might be maybe a handful of people here, but I'm probably gonna make like $1 on Patreon. So be it. I mean, I didn't own it. I didn't open one because I don't have that. I don't have a lot of people who watch my videos or support my main channel. So I'll never open a Patreon. I'm thinking about it, but it's like, you know, I really want to get a stable job first. So there you go.
When this, well, then it's not going to get better because you're supporting an inferior game. So if you really feel like me that Street Fighter V is an inferior game, don't play it, fuck it, and move on and do something else and come back to it later when Capcom...
So how can watching a streamer affect Capcom? If I watch, like, Markiplier play Street Fighter V, how does that affect Capcom? It doesn't. No. I mean, if I buy Street Fighter V after that stream, then okay, I could see that, but most people who watch streams might not buy the game.
Makes a better game, but they won't make a better game if you keep supporting the crap one. So that's actually a correct statement. The next one. Japan enjoys the game. I'm not even going to comment. Seriously, I'm not. Because if you think that what the Japanese do is like the end-all, be-all of everything on the planet Earth, all right? Well, you probably like taking tentacles up your ass. You probably like sniffing girls' panties that you bought out of a vending machine, you know? And you probably like having hard gay over your house for dinner every night. I mean, go move to fucking Japan.
I can't believe he said that. Now, I'm sure someone will say, oh, you're just being PC, Theo. No, it has nothing to do with that. But it's like, he's talking about Street Fighter V, a fucking video game. And he went far and beyond and started making stereotypical jokes. But if you like Japan so much, you like tentacles, and you like sniffing panties... A guy who who plays Street Fighter and who watches anime. He watches anime and he's making all these stereotypical fucking jokes because people like Street Fighter V and Phil, come on. Come on, man. Like, really? Really? Dude.
And if you really think you're such a fanboy of Japan that because some Japanese players like the game that it's the best Street Fighter ever, go move to fucking Japan and leave all of us realists at home where we could tell you the game's a piece of shit. There you have it. Oh, this is a good one.
Wow.
It's still better looking than King of Fighters 14. Good one. The game's a piece of shit. Fucking Japan and leave all of us realists at home.
So, Japan is full of people that aren't realists. Because people who like Street Fighter V are a fan of Japan. Phil, just stop. You should have cut this part out.
Home where we could tell you the game's a piece of shit. There you have it.
But you don't want to comment on it.
This is a good one. It's still better looking than King of Fighters 14. Yeah, you're right. It is. King of Fighters 14 looks like fucking ass. It looks like a fucking donkey's ass. But the game plays better than Street Fighter V. Last time I checked, gamers were always saying, all those competitive fighting game players, it's not about the looks.
It's kind of funny he said that while he complained about how it plays when he played King of Fighters 14. Remember that? He said that there was invisible lag, magic lag.
It's not about all the flash and the fancy, it's about the quality of the gameplay. That's what everyone always said over the years. You should still go play those classic 2D competitive fighters. It's not about the looks, it's about the gameplay. Okay, now all of a sudden Street Fighter V comes out, it's about the looks. Oh, Street Fighter V looks better than King of Fighters. Oh, wow. Let's just forget that whole other aspect you talked about, you hypocritical bastard. All right, let's
Funny
keep
coming from
going.
him.
Previous entries hit their strong point with later additions. This is very true. This is absolutely very true. I agree. And you know, like I already said, games like Street Fighter 3 sucked at launch, right? It really did.
But again, he said as well in this very same video that you shouldn't do that.
Street Fighter 3 New Generation was terrible. Street Fighter 4 had one incredibly overpowered character at launch. The difference here is, again, there were other games to play. When Street Fighter 3 was out and everyone didn't like it, they went and played the other Capcom games. When Street Fighter 4 was out, yes, it was a reinvigoration, and even though Sagat seemed to be the best character in the game, people were still making honest efforts with characters like Balrog and Ryu and, oh god, now I'm having a brain fart. I can't believe I can't remember. Oh, Rufus and a few other characters, and eventually, yes, the Sea Vipers and the Sets came out. So, bullshit. Because, yeah, Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4 was kind of very unbalanced at launch. Within 6 to 8 months, people were getting around Sagat, and then all of a sudden, within a year, you had Super Street Fighter, and it changed everything, right? Okay, let's keep going. This is great. I love this.
But remember, they shouldn't do that for Street Fighter 5. They should not balance the game. No patches. Make a new game. Make us pay $60 again. That's the better solution. Not give us free updates to fix the game. No, just scrap it and have us pay $60 more. That's what people want, right?
Street Fighter 5 values footsies above all else.
Yes,
well,
it does.
That's true. The most delayed footsies ever in a fighting game, the most unreactionary footsies ever in a fighting game, and footsies you can't really do anything about because your inputs are so delayed. So in other games, if people just mashed high priority footsies, they would get punished. In Street Fighter 5, you just do the high priority footsie and you get away with it because no one can do jack diddly shit because the game's so fucking delayed with the input lag. So you just gave another reason why the game's bad. I love this. Free space, insert your
people like this game that I don't like.
Your own bullshit reason right in the middle there for why this game fucking is good because it's fucking shit. Street Fighter is as popular as ever right now. I've already explained. The bottom line is this: because of the streaming era, because of the internet hype era, right? YouTube, Twitch, because of all this.
Well, yeah,
because of all these celebrities being made out of these competitive Street Fighter players. Street Fighter is very popular, but it was Street Fighter 4 that made it popular, and then supplemental games that built up hype like Marvel vs. Capcom and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Street Fighter 5 has to hold that title, alright? Really, the popularity Street Fighter 5 is getting right now is based off of everything and all the good faith that Street Fighter 4 built up for it. If this game doesn't pull itself out of its own asshole soon, people are not going to be sticking around. People are going to be watching videos like this one and say, what the fuck am I doing playing this inferior fucking game? I can do better things with my time. That's what people should be doing. Yeah, Street Fighter's popular because the pro players play the fuck out of it and say it's the best game ever when it's not because they're liars. Holy shit.
Guys,
the people who hate it are bad at the game.
A pro fighting game player.
Wrong. The only people who hate it are people who played it at a semi-competitive level or trying to understand it at a competitive level and innately know it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, you're bad at it. No, what that means is I didn't waste my fucking time to adapt.
No, it can't be that I'm bad at it. No way. No way, no how. I am a super bronze. My LP is 1240, I think. I don't consider myself a pro fighting game player. I don't. But I played Street Fighter 5, and I liked it. I don't think it's a perfect game. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But he's shaming so many people for liking the game.
To a delayed fucking game so that I could play your delayed game at a competitive level. I've got far better things to do. I actually said earlier this year that if Street Fighter 5 caught on and I liked it as much as I like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I would play it at a competitive level. I would give it a shot. After a couple of months, I knew it wasn't the case. I knew there was just something up with this game. And then when the 8 frames of input delay were announced, I was like, I knew it all along. There was something different about this fucking game that I can't play it like Super Turbo. And that's what it is.
He hyped it like it was gonna play like Super Turbo, then was like, it didn't play like Super Turbo! Like, he fucking hyped it. Oh my god.
So fuck that. That is the worst reason people who hate it are bad at the game. Yeah, because they didn't bother to waste their time like you fucking jabronis to make a buck playing it. They don't care about.
So I only cared about Street Fighter 5 because I was getting paid for it. Where's my paychecks, Phil? Where did they go? Did they go somewhere? Man, I should really call Capcom about these paychecks I'm getting for Street Fighter Five. Even though I might have liked the game, I could see why people don't like it. But I guess I'm getting paid for it, right, guys? Because I like the game.
About bad fucking games. Unreal. Such an elitist fucking thing to say, too.
Yeah, it's a elitist thing to
Street
say
Fighter
to
is
expect someone who buys a game that they own, that they buy the game that they would take the time to learn the characters. He didn't play the game for that long. He played it fewer than I did, and I'm not a huge fighting game fan. I played so many other games, and between Street Fighter V's release until now, that and I'm better than him at the game. Like when I fought against him, for that Patreon thing he did, months back, I was surprised. He won, sure, but I'm surprised I got so many hits in. In Street Fighter 4, when I played him the instant, he double perfected me. But I could see why, because he played the game a lot. He did not play Street Fighter 5 that much. If he played it way more, he probably could have mastered Zangief, but he didn't. So there you go. I have played that game way more than him, and probably right now I have a hunch I could beat him. I have a hunch.
Only relevant is the only relevant fighting game out there. And you know, again, might sound hypocritical coming from me, but I realize now that me in the past and me in the present are two very different people. There's so many other games out there. Games that don't even get credit. Skullgirls, the Guilty Gear series, the Blast Blue.
Skullgirls, my game. My game got noticed. Skullgirls is the best fighting game ever to exist. If you disagree with that, fuck you. Okay, look, I have a bias to Skullgirls. That's a very special place in my heart. Okay, but if you don't like Skullgirls, that's fine. I'm just joking. If I, that stuff. I love Skullgirls, but whatever. Yeah, Skullgirls doesn't get enough credit as it is because honestly, when I played Skullgirls, it felt a lot like Darkstalkers. Like if they made Darkstalkers now, it might feel like this game. I love Skullgirls. It's a very good game, and it has a very talented development team behind it, and I'm very excited for their new game.
Or Blaze Blue, whatever series, all very valid fighting games that don't get a lot of attention. King of Fighters 14 was just released. That game got like no hype and no attention. That game's fucking far better as a competitive fighting game, just built on the engine that Street Fighter 5 is. But these games don't get that attention. Because Street Fighter 5 is synonymous with Capcom, the well-known top game developer for fighting games. They get all the hype and the bullshit, right? Why? Sorry, if you make a bad game, you don't get a pass anymore. I'm sorry. I can't. My whole life I was a fan of Capcom. They don't get the pass anymore. Oh, it's the only relevant fighting game. Okay, you elitist piece of shit. You have that opinion, and I won't watch your streams, and I won't watch you play the fucking game. You can go fuck yourself and stick your elitist shit up your own fucking ass. How about that?
But you don't watch their streams anyway.
Oh, God. Keep the boring long combos in Street Fighter 4. A lot of people in Street Fighter 4, admittedly, they said, a lot of those combos were long, and you could FADC into the next, and then another combo into the next. Or I guess some people would say that Yoon, because he had his combo with his super, would be juggles and stuff across the screen. Yeah, admittedly, in Street Fighter 5, the combos are smaller, but they deal just as much damage. The length of the combo doesn't matter. And it's not about that. Yeah, Street Fighter 4 had a lot of flash to it because a long combo was flashy, and maybe some person who didn't understand the game at a fundamental level would think that's a better game because it has longer combos. 95% of people who actually attempt to play a game at a competitive level know that the length of the combo doesn't matter. It's the damage dealt and the viability.
But it's funny. Like it said, like they should have kept the long combos in Street Fighter 5. It seems like that was a criticism to Street Fighter 5. I want to hear that again.
Fundamental level with to it. The length of the combo, admittedly, that Yoon, you could F Street Fighter 4. Oh, God. Keep the boring long combos in Street Fighter 4. A lot of people in Street Fighter 4 the next are yeah, admittedly in Street Fighter 5 the combos are smaller, but they deal just as much damage. The length of the combo doesn't matter. And it's not about that. Yeah, Street Fighter 4 had a lot of flash to it because a long combo was flashy, and maybe some person who didn't understand the game at a fundamental level would think that's a better game because it has longer combos. 95% of people who actually attempt to play a game at a competitive level know that the length of the combo doesn't matter. It's the damage dealt and the viability of the combo. That is a stupid fucking statement. We all had the same complaints about Vanilla Street Fighter 4. I already talked about this. I already talked about how, yes, in Vanilla Street Fighter 4, Sagat was incredibly overpowered, but then you had other contenders like Balrog and Blanca and Seth and Sea Viper and other characters who played nothing like Sagat and also were tournament contenders. Right now, the upper echelon of Street Fighter V, all are the same style of character. Imagine if Street Fighter 4 had 3 versions of Sagat as the top 3, and then everyone else, under. That's basically what Street Fighter V is right now. Completely different situation. That's not a valid criticism or defense of Street Fighter V whatsoever. The new characters keep the game fresh. Okay, they suck, but they keep the game fresh. Except for Nash, who plays like the other. To me, Street Fighter V really doesn't even about character selection anymore. I don't even see the characters or the sprites or anything. I just see the moves. So I see invincible uppercut, 3-frame abusable move, invincible reversal, 3-frame abusable move. That's all I see. I don't even see the character design anymore. So I don't even care that there's new characters that look different. Fine. Okay, maybe for the first week that's something to keep you interested, but then it comes down to the nitty-gritty of the fundamentals of the gameplay, not because there's new characters. Another stupid statement. Street Fighter V is an honest game.
Take a sip.
Because remember, previous Street Fighter games were horrendous liars. I don't even really understand this statement. I'm sure that there's some big, long-winded explanation behind it of how the previous games were broken and, abusable by one strategy or whatever, and Street Fighter V isn't like that. It's a more, what's the word? Smash Mouth Street Fighter, right? It's more pure and it's more that. And it's also more shit and more delayed, and it doesn't make up for any of that. If I had someone directly defending this statement, I would understand more. That's the one I don't get. Oh, this is a great one. Bottom left. Wait for the game to be finished before you judge it. Oh, I guess 7 months wasn't enough to wait, right? Oh, well, now Urian's releasing tomorrow, right? I'm actually filming this the day before Urian's going to be live. So I guess because Urian's released tomorrow, that's the official game, right? So tomorrow, if I play it and there's still 8 frames of input lag, and all those characters that don't have the invincibility and the 3-frame moves still suck, I could complain then, right? Because it's finished. But no, they'll say, well, no, it's going to be tweaked next year, too. It's going to have even more updates next year. It'll be different. That's the thing. They'll never say that it's done because they're not going to sell Super Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 5 or Ultra Street Fighter 5. It's never done. It's always an ongoing work in progress, so you can never complain. Get the fuck out of here. What a terrible defense. 8 frames is not a big deal.
Okay.
Fuck
look,
you.
That got me, but I kind of agree with that, actually. It is kind of bullshit to say that, oh, the game's not finished, wait till it's finished. That is kind of bullshit, to be honest. Because, yeah, they are going to do, like, a Super Street Fighter 5 patch, probably, and that kind of stuff, so... Sorry, but, like, when you release a game, that should be finished. Just because you do, like, tweaks and updates and all that, that should be graded on its own merit. Because with that logic, then you can't really review any game that's a season pass then. So... I do agree. It is kind of stupid to say that you have to wait until stuff is out. No. The base game should be finished as it is, and then the update should just be expansions of that. Like, with that logic, Overwatch, you can't review that because there's still going to be updates for that game. I don't think they even released a new character that they're working on. So, are you going to say that's complete there? No.
That's all I have to say. Anyone who's going to say that, who's a competitive fighting game player, and you're going to tell me 8 frames of input delay, the most input delay of any numbered and serious Street Fighter competitive game ever is not a big deal. Fuck you. You're a dishonest liar, and you don't know how to fucking play a game at a competitive level. You just learned how to play a laggy game. Idiots. Street Fighter V had more stream views than Street Fighter 4. Already explained this. It's because of all the good-natured hype and love of the Street Fighter games that built up with Street Fighter 4 that got this community as big as it is, that got people to go to EVO and register for Street Fighter 5, the good faith of the pro players who are claiming this game is great. Basically what you've got is a small group of great players pulling the wool over the eyes of the masses who follow them because they really like the feeling of being in a fun and competitive community, and it's bullshit. So, guess what? If you watch Street Fighter V at EVO, good for you. You watched the most inferior version of Street Fighter ever, and I feel bad for you because you basically did watch a real piece of crap. It would be like,
Yeah, because now, like, there's no way Street Fighter V could be entertaining, right? No way. No way. Yeah, okay, Phil.
You could have seen Citizen Kane, but instead you watched the Ghostbusters remake. And it's like, But everyone says, or I'm going to go back on that because that was a bad comparison. Citizen Kane is no Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters to the Ghostbusters remake, okay? Well, they're both called Ghostbusters, so they both must really be good. And let's face it, the hype back in the 1980s when Ghostbusters 1 was released isn't as much as the hype that they tried to build up for the Ghostbusters reboot. But when you go and see them next to each other, you realize they're not the same fucking thing. So if you really liked the Ghostbusters reboot this past summer, you probably really like Street Fighter 5. It's the same fucking deal. It's a piece of shit. All right. What's the last one here? This is good. Oh, LOL Guilty Gear, because we all know that because these games have these anime-like characters and don't have the PR or the budget or the marketing of Street Fighter that they're no good, right? Yeah, whatever you say. And then lastly, the game is perfectly balanced. Fuck you. That's actually factually and logically incorrect. Just from a competitive standpoint, anyone will tell you it is not perfectly balanced. That's horseshit. So we just went through the Street Fighter V Defense Force bingo and literally ripped apart every defense that a pro fighting game player could give this fucking game. I'm going to end it like this, all right? I'm going to end it like this. As a long-time, lifetime Street Fighter fan, someone who's played this game at a competitive level, every version of the game. Now, I've never been a top tournament contender in anything but Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, admittedly. But I've been around the block, and I probably have more fighting game experience than 99% of my viewer base. The bottom line is this. Don't be fooled by people who are using you. All right? Just don't. Because that's literally what I'm seeing with stuff like this, with stuff like this, and with stuff like this.
But Phil's not using you, even though he hides playthroughs and marathons behind a paywall. No, he's not using you or trying to get you to spread the word for his third channel. He's not using it for free marketing. No. He's not using you, apparently. Nope, not at all. Okay.
I see a desperate competitive fighting game community who need to keep people on their streams, who need to keep people paying them money on Twitch to watch them play these games, and they need to keep their fucking sponsorships for their joysticks. Yeah, baby, keep that money rolling in, because the bottom line is, if this game dies out and dries up, well, Capcom doesn't have plans to make another one, so I can't do this for a living anymore. And that is what's happening, all right?
Yeah,
they're pulling the wool over your fucking eyes, right?
Says the guy in every pre-stream that says, oh, well, I'm not really making any money this time because there's no really hyped any games. So, like, it would be really great if everyone donated $1 to me on Patreon. Oh, this is that, like, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
People out there who don't rely on that as a living. And they probably will tell you the truth. I'm one of them. I don't know if anyone else has the balls to step up and say, listen, this game is not good. These people are kissing its ass for fucking the wrong reasons. You know, it's very dishonest, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It is. It's dishonest. The bottom line is this. When you see a statement like this, and you're being told by a pro player they're guilt-tripping you for legitimately criticizing a fighting game.
How? Wait,
you have to look at that.
What? How is that guilt-tripping? They're not making you feel bad. It's just like, oh, stop complaining. Like, that doesn't make you feel bad. That is just like... Most of the time if I tell someone to stop complaining, they're gonna get angry at me. If I told Phil to stop complaining, guess what? I'm gonna get blocked. Which I get blocked, but... he would block me if I told him to stop complaining. Go to his stream chat and tell him every time he gets angry to stop complaining, and now probably you'll get banned from his chat because he doesn't like that. So that's not really guilt tripping. It would be guilt tripping and saying like, well, it would really mean a lot if you guys like Street Fighter V. I mean, like, I'm not saying you have to, but like, it would really mean a lot. It's like someone it's just they would have to be pretty much like kind of like begging you to like the game. That's not begging. That's just telling someone to stop whining. There's a difference.
And you have to say, does that person respect me? They're guilt-tripping me for asking for something better just because this game developer has made something better in the past, and this isn't up to the expectations they've built off of their own track record, right? That guilt trip is the ultimate disrespect to you. And if you see that shit, that's when you know, fuck that. Run. You don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to be a part of that scam, that hustle, whatever the fuck they want to call it. That's fucking bullshit. When you're being told you don't have the legitimate right to criticize something because shame on you, you should just like it because it's fucking Street Fighter. Oh my god, like what? Yeah, that's like the most close-minded, crazy, fucking cultish kind of fucking mindset I've ever heard in my entire life.
While he and his fans, mostly his fans, shame people for talking bad about Phil, calling people mentally ill for talking about Phil. Oh, you don't like Phil, you're mentally ill. Oh, you talk about him all the time on Twitter. That must be what you do in your free time because it's Twitter, and there's no way you can post something on Twitter, leave Twitter, do something else, go back to Twitter, and maybe talk about Phil. No, clearly, if whatever you tweet on Twitter is what you do on your spare time. No way you can just do whatever you want on your own Twitter, talk about whatever you want. No. You should feel bad about talking about Phil, and you should feel you have a mental illness if you if you're a negative dick. Obviously, right? Right, guys? Hey, DSP fans, if you agree with this, then why do you keep fucking telling me about what I should be doing on my free time? Why are you guilt-tripping me? Why are you making me feel bad about myself? Because I'm making a video for fun, and this doesn't really take that long to make. The only reason why the runtime is this long is because I talk a lot, and I keep pausing the video. That's 47 minutes. So you tell me, you add up the math.
And it's insane. And
Insane,
again,
man.
I don't care. The bottom line is, I'm not going back to the competitive Street Fighter community.
Good.
I'm not.
I don't care.
I'm never going back. You're not going to see me at EVO playing at a high level. I've got other things in my life going on that are far more important. I don't care if I get blacklisted and banned and everyone talks shit about DSP and, oh god, that video he made was so scathing to the fighting game community.
He doesn't care, but then he bans and blocks anyone with a dissenting opinion. He doesn't care. Okay, Phil, then reinstate my forum account. Because, like, really, I wish I took a picture of it, because all I said was that his playthrough was bad, of his Dead Rising playthrough. It wasn't that good. He had his handheld the whole time, but if he didn't care, then why did he block me? If he doesn't care what people think about him. Okay, Phil, yeah, you don't care.
I don't give a flaming fuck. Street Fighter V sucks. It's
Yeah,
nowhere near
okay.
as good as previous Street Fighter games. Capcom did a terrible job the entire time with the development, whether it was the insanely botched online play, the lack of
doesn't
features
care,
at
even though he
launch, the
talked
fact
about
that
it for,
there's 8
like,
frames of input
45
delay,
minutes.
the fact that until this fucking patch that's going live right now goes live, because I played with a PlayStation 4 joystick the entire time that I tried to play Street Fighter 4, I had more delay than someone who used this pad. That is the signs of a insanely terrible game development fucking team that should not even be earning their fucking paychecks. That is a laughable joke. But because it's Capcom and it's Street Fighter V, we all have to forgive it, right? Oh, 7 months I've been playing on a joystick and I've had a worse experience than everyone else, but I'll forgive it because now they're patching it, right? Fuck that shit. Ask for more. Demand for more.
See, right there. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're fixing the input delay on the fight stick, and he's saying that you should demand more. What do you want them to do? Send a gold trophy to your house and say feel better or something? Like they're trying to fix these issues, and the whole thing with the fight stick delay that might not have been known when they made the game. They might not have known of that delay because if it was as intentional as the 8-frame delay that they had in the online, then why wouldn't they throw that in there? Why would they bother to fix it if it was intentional? Because obviously they wanted to fix it. That's why they made a patch for it. That's why they fucking fixed it. But remember, you have to ask more. Does them fixing these issues that you have, that's not enough. They should sell you, give you a free game. No way that would be financial suicide. And also, I want to say this. How many people have criticized Capcom? Everywhere I go, no matter what, in a Metal Gear group, on another forum, wherever, people shit on Capcom because they didn't like Resident Evil 6, they don't like their games, they didn't like pretty much everything that they've done, they didn't like. So when Street Fighter 5 came out, the people who didn't like Capcom, they had more ammo. They had more ammo to shit on Capcom, of course. So which is fine. I mean, of course, Street Fighter 5 isn't a perfect game, and you have every right. I'm disappointed it doesn't have an arcade mode, but I still enjoyed the game. But like, it's no surprise that people don't like Capcom anymore. It's like Phil's is waking up like, I don't like Capcom. So that must mean that Capcom is now failing. It's like, no, people have always didn't like Capcom from the beginning. Like, they've had a very negative opinion. People had a negative opinion for Capcom for quite a while. And it's kind of funny that he's now shitting on Capcom for Street Fighter V when people have been shitting on Capcom since Resident Evil 5. But whatever.
You are the gamers. You are the consumers. You have the power in your hands to say, fuck that, I'm not playing this inferior game. And then guess what? Then, all of a sudden, if you stopped watching those streams and you stopped attending those tournaments for the inferior game, and if you just did all those things that you need to do, this list would disappear. Because half of these are all bullshit based off of the good quality of the previous Street Fighter games. Uh-oh, when that stream attendance dwindles, and when that tournament attendance dwindles, what's their excuse now? That's all I have to say. Don't let anyone talk down to you like that. That is so fucking disrespectful. You have the right, as a consumer, and as a gamer, and as a person, to complain, to ask for something greater, especially when
while he talks down to people who ask more from him.
Been delivered something greater in the past from a game developer or anyone in your life. Don't ever let anyone shame you for asking for something that's better or deserved.
So DSP fans, if you're watching this video, if you made it this far, which is very... I'm asking a lot if you made it this far. Why do you have to shame me for asking more from Phil? Please let me know in the comments below why you're shaming me for wanting more from Phil. Please tell me.
That's it, everyone, for my rant on Street Fighter V. After I play with Urian, I'm probably not playing the game anymore unless they do rebalance it next year and actually make it more fair so it's not just the same few characters who have those invincible reversals and the 3-frame moves who are actually dominating the game, and if they actually reduce the input fucking delay. There's no way I'm playing with 8 frames of input delay. It's a fucking piece of shit. You cannot play it reactionary, and if people want to sit there, these top FGC players, oh, it's all about the meaties and the footsies because I could just mash the high priority moves and they work. Well, you can play your game, and I'll just go off and do my own thing, and you can have your piece of shit and have your own streams with the people who like to mash like retards.
Wow.
That's it for my rant, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Wow,
See you later.
mash like retards. Wow, that's a nice thing to say. Okay, that's it for this video. It's almost 2 hours. Thanks for watching me this far. DSP fans, stop shaming people for asking more from Phil. Phil agrees with me, okay? So stop shaming people for not liking something, okay? So, there you go. See you guys whenever I do a video. I feel like I want to do an Anita Shark Girl video, so I'll do that. See you then.